Hello, everybody. I'm Nina Hartley, and you are watching Tuesdays with Nina. We have several questions today, each of which could actually do the whole 5 minutes, but I'm going to try to get through them. The first question is from a woman who wants to know better how to do this cowgirl position thing. She says she feels awkward and stiff and doesn't quite feel confident and comfortable doing cowgirl. So cowgirl is one of those positions that for some people it's feel the best, the bee's knees, the cat's meow position, and others it feels awkward and weird. For me, to finally learn how to enjoy cowgirl was when I learned to prop the guy up into a mostly sitting position. When he's flat like a pancake, then it becomes just his penis touching you and it's not very intimate. So by propping him up, you bring his face closer to you, you can kiss him, he can touch you, you can play with your boobies, play with your butt. Everything is good. And plant your knees on either side of him. And you can do this without the guy in the way, actually. And learn to do the stripper move of planting your knees and making your butt go booga, 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 booga. Because that's what you're doing. Now, when you do it on top of him, of course, his cock will be in you doing the booga, 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 booga thing. So you have to learn to let go of the idea of, oh my gosh, my butt is fat or my butt is moving too much. Flesh moves, and let me tell you, ladies, guys, love it. If it's too little flesh moving, then it's sort of like, am I doing a boy or what? Women have curves, women have flesh, and it feels really good to the guy to have your hips going booga, booga, booga on top of him. He can feel your ass. So turn the lights down so you don't feel quite so on display or in the forefront, because that can inhibit movement. And practice, practice, practice. It certainly took me a while, but once I figured out prop the guy up a bit, it got so much better because it just worked much, much better. And it took me 6 or 8 times of this position before I got comfortable with it. Practice, practice, practice. Now, the second question is from a woman who wants to know how to quiet her mind. She starts making love and her mind goes to the shopping, to school, to work, to everything else but being in the room with her partner. And she wants some tips for quieting her mind. And for that, we go back to the breath. Every time we breathe consciously and deliberately, and pay attention, we bring ourselves back into our bodies. Our bodies are always in the present moment. So every time you think that you are not in the present moment, simply breathe and you come right back to it. Our brains take us into the future, take us into the past. Our brains drive us crazy, but our bodies are not going to drive us crazy. So when we can learn to stay in them and just stay in them, and come back to them again and again, it gets easier and sex gets better. Now, when I was learning this little technique, I have to tell you, I would have to refocus my mind every minute to 2 minutes, or half a minute. I mean, I had to do it all the time. I had a very busy mind. It took forever to quiet myself and bring myself back into my body. So that is why we practice conscious breathing, mindful breathing, and do it again and again and again. Luckily, you have to breathe all the time. And so just by putting a little bit of awareness into it, we can bring ourselves back into our bodies. And if you have to do this every 15 seconds, do it every 15 seconds, and then you realize, oh, it's been a minute. You get better at it. It is a skill set that you can develop over time with practice. No self-beating, no one's being bad here, no one's being wrong. It's just something that you have to learn how to do. Focus on the pleasure, focus on the way your partner's body feels, focus on how you feel, and it gets easier. Breathing, breathing. I feel better already. And the last question I thought was really interesting, which was someone asking, in my opinion, does the personality determine the sexuality, or does a person's sexuality influence his personality? So which comes first, personality or sexuality? And I have to say, in my experience, it depends. For some people, sex is front and foremost, first and foremost in their mind. That's someone like me. I think about sex all the time. I think about everything from a sexual angle automatically. It's not like I'm trying to do it. It just happens that way. That's the prism through which I see the world. And for other people, sex honestly is not that important to them. It just isn't. It's not that they have a bad sex life or don't have a partner. It's just that sex of the world's concerns, sex is lower down on the list for some people than it is for others. I think it also depends on a person's libido. If they have a very high, hot, engine that's revving quite a bit and really, really working really hard, then their sexuality might determine their personality. And for people with a lower libido, whose sex drive is not so urgent and forceful and constant, I think maybe their sexuality is more informed by their personality. So it is an individual thing. I don't think it's that important in the bigger scheme of things, as long as each person is comfortable with his or her sexuality. Remember, my sexuality is different from my sexual expression. There are lots of things that I'm very comfortable with sexually that I don't actually do in person or do in public or do in private or do anywhere. There's still aspects of my sexuality that I choose not to express, but I keep in my mind's eye. And for other people, if they think of a thing sexually, they have to do it, they want to do it. And some of the things I want to do are so out there, or physically impossible, or physically impossible, that I don't worry about actually making it real. I just enjoy the thought of having sex in zero gravity without moon suits on, and I let that be fun for me. So there you have it. With Cowgirl position, simply find the best position for you that you can let your hips move and get him into a position to work with that. Second, breathing. Conscious breathing always brings us back into the present moment. Do it as often as possible. You can't OD. You sort of got to breathe all the time. And sexuality and personality, which came first? It depends on the person. I'm Nina Hartley. This has been Tuesdays with Nina, and you can write to me at tuesdayswithnina@gmail.com. See you next time. Bye-bye.